All right, 1 second here.
One.
All right, so we're on holding by the Book of Leviticus Chapter 17. Again, want to welcome everyone holding by the Book of Leviticus Chapter 17. We're still in verse 10. Again, we're still in verse 10. We're still in the middle of this Orach Chaim Makadosh. Anyone remembers, the Torah says, Ish ish mi beis Yisrael min agar b'soicham sher yochel kol dam sati fanai ben nefesh ha'ocheles es adam v'charati osam mikerev Amma. So here the Torah says, again, it says, whatsoever there be a man, right, the house of Israel, right, Ish, and we learned a lot of things, the double language here, which we've spoken about, or strangers, again, sojourn among the Jewish people, strangers meaning Ger Toshav, right, someone who lives amongst Jewish people that goes against idolatry, keeps the Noahide laws, that eats any blood, I will set my face against their soul, that eats blood, will cut them off from amongst his people. Again, talking about kares, being spiritually cut off for eating blood. So we spoke a few weeks back about basically whether what a person eats affects them, right? It has an effect on the soul, right? It causes their soul to be dull if you're a Jew, right? Certainly dulls the spirit. Dulling the spirit for a Jew that doesn't keep kosher, right, means it's like you are, what's the word? It's like you're apathetic, right? It's like a person's apathetic to Torah mitzvahs. Very hard for somebody who want to keep Torah mitzvahs, right? If they're eating things that they obviously shouldn't. So we spoke about that, and then the Orach Chaim Makadosh over here says there are different levels, right? Remember, we mentioned that the Ramchal in Derech Hashem says that a Jew and a non-Jew are not equal, right? We are not equal because we have extra aspects of our soul that non-Jews do not have. So therefore, we have more mitzvahs to do, and God forbid, more transgressions as well. But what differentiates a Jew from a non-Jew is the fact that we have mitzvahs, right? We have more mitzvahs to do. But if a Jew, as we mentioned many times, if a Jew doesn't act the way they should, then they're no different than a non-Jew, right? Essentially, they do the same things as non-Jews, right? And obviously not saying that's a good thing, right? So then the Orach Chaim Makadosh over here says that there are different levels, right? Different levels for, top level is a Jew whose both parents are Jewish, right? Obviously you need the mother, no question, you need the mother to be Jewish. The mother's not Jewish, child's not Jewish, right? That's pretty, that should be pretty obvious. That's the highest level, right? That's the highest level. There's no, there's no intermarriage, there's no conversion, right, etc. There's no one, joining in, so to speak. Again, that's the pure level. Pure level, father and mother are both Jews, right? So the male, obviously, is on a different level than a woman because they have different commandments. Women are not obligated to many things that men are, right? But still, women have, mitzvahs that they have to do. They keep Shabbos, keep kosher, keep the laws of Lashon Hara, many things women have to keep, all the holidays, certainly as well, but they have different obligations, right? There's certain things they're not obligated. Any mitzvah that's bound by time. Women are not obligated. But there's a difference between Ashkenazic opinion and Sephardic opinion, where they can make a blessing on it. A woman, let's say, sitting in a sukkah, Jewish woman, she wants to make the blessing of sitting in a sukkah. She's allowed to, right? Certainly by Ashkenazic tradition, right? Not only she sits in the sukkah, can she sit in the sukkah? She can make a blessing. Now, according to Sephardic tradition, she can also sit in the sukkah, right? No question, she can sit in the sukkah, right? But she doesn't make a blessing. Why? Why wouldn't she make a blessing? And the answer is because it's a mitzvah that is bound by time. Women are not obligated in mitzvahs that are bound by time. Doesn't mean they can't do that, right? The question is, if they're not bound by them, then the question is, do I make a blessing or not, right? Not a question you can do it or not. Of course you can do it, right? That's not an issue. The issue is you make a blessing on it, right? That's the question. So it goes through here different different levels. And again, people are going to make the mistake and obviously splice this and, try and rip me to shreds and say, see, what I said over here is that men are greater than women, right? So again, or even better, the Jews are better than non-Jews, is what I meant to say. The Jews are better than non-Jews. Not a question about being better or not. God chose us, we chose him, right? The Gemara in Avodah Zarah 2b to 3a, the Medrash says that God went to all the nations. None of the nations wanted the Torah. God said, you want the Torah? Say what's written in it, right? So go to Edom, go to Esav. So what's written in it? It says, don't kill. But what do you mean, don't kill? Right? What does Esav say? Torah says, I'm going to live by the sword. No, not interested. Goes to Ishmael, goes to the Arabs, goes to the Muslims. Say, you want the Torah. So what's written in it? It says, don't steal. Oh, what is the Torah saying? So Ishmael says, but the Torah says, my hand's in the hand of everyone. Everyone has a hand in me, right? That's what the Torah says. Meaning, I got sticky fingers. Sticky fingers means I steal. That's my job. That's what I do. I'm not interested. God goes to all the other nations. All the other nations don't want the Torah. They come to the Jewish people. You want the Torah. What do the Jewish people say? Naaseh v'nishma. They say, we will hear, and then we will do. Right? They don't care. So the non-Jews are going to complain and say, hey, what do you mean? We also want to pardon Torah. Too late. Right? The Ramchal says in Derech Hashem that anyone who wanted to join at the time of Abraham could have joined. And God had mercy, even up until the giving of the Torah of Mount Sinai. People could have joined. Whoever didn't join has to go through conversion, right? They have to go through conversion for better or for worse. If they want to be Jewish. Like I had someone once tell me, if I would have been in my great grandparent generation, I wouldn't have rejected the Torah. And I'm like, no offense, doesn't matter, right? It's irrelevant because the point is, once it's codified, once they rejected it. The Jewish people took it on. That's it, right? You want to join, you have to go through conversion. If not, you don't have to convert, right? You can still eat shrimp. You can still say it on Jew. You can still eat shrimp. Very good, right? People like shrimp. So the Ramchal there says it's not a question. It's not a question. Jews better than non-Jews. Now, some Jews, even secular Jews, may have a chip on the shoulder. Right? They may think, right? They may think they're actually better, right? They may think they're actually better than non-Jews, right? But what really differentiates Jews from non-Jews? What differentiates the mitzvahs we keep? And if we don't keep the mitzvahs properly, are we any different than non-Jews? We're no different. We're no different. Jews exponentially, when it comes to other things, where, it comes to, let's say, charity. Jews give exponentially, much more charity than anybody else, right? Any other so-called ethnic group. Nobel Prizes. Jews exponentially, right? Whether in science, math, other things, exponentially have won more Nobel Prizes than anyone else. Now, let's analyze that for a second, right? Why would that be? Because there's a tremendous emphasis on Jewish education. Right? Let's say better, a tremendous emphasis on education. If you're not going to put your strength in the Jewish education, where are you going to put your strength in? Secular education. Right? Majority of Jews today, whether they have money, they don't have money, most Jews have at least one degree. Most Jews have been to university, even today, let's say they're doing it online or whatever, right? Most Jews are going to university. Right? One of the probably top 5 biggest lies in the world going to university is going to make you more money, right? Not true, but we're not going to go there. The point is, if they're not going to fulfill their obligation of learning Torah, right? That's a Jew's obligation. They got to learn as much Torah as they can, be the best Jews that they can be, right? Etc. Go in the right path that God wants for them. If they don't do that, what are they going to do? What are they going to switch it with? They're going to switch it with something secular, right? That's what they're going to do. So that's why, Jewish parents, they want their kids to succeed. So how are they going to get them to succeed? Education. They got to be properly educated. You got to go to a good school. You got to do good in high school so you can go to a good college. You do good in college. Why? So you get a good job. You get married, have a couple kids, maybe a summer house, and that's it. And then you might see the world a little bit when when you're 65, you retire and you die. Kind of a lame way to look at the world, right? That's how some people look at the world. And that's what it is. But again, it is a big myth. Plenty of people made a lot of money without having a college degree. And what do you do if you get a college degree in the arts? Liberal arts. Like I have a college degree from an Ivy League school, big deal, right? In liberal arts, so you say, oh, he's got a degree in liberal arts and history. What can you do with a history degree? Not very much. I used it once over the last 30 years. It actually came in handy once. Once it came in handy. Okay. All that other information, the waste. It's total waste unless you're going to become a lawyer. You're going to go on to teach or whatever. But okay, for the most part, it's a waste of time, right? Most part, it's a waste of time. So it's also a big myth. Also a very big myth. But again, if you're a secular Jew, what are you going to give your kids? You give them somewhat of a Jewish education, right? A minimal Jewish education. And then what are you going to do? You give them the best secular education you can, because that's the most important thing, because you got to make money. And if you got to make money, you got to have a job, right? If you have a job, you have to have education, right? It's like a vicious circle. It's a vicious circle, right? You got to eat to live. You got to live to eat, right? So the Chofetz Chaim says, very interesting, in Duties of the Heart, he says in Shar B'tachon, in the gate of faith and belief in God, he says, everybody's given an opportunity in this world to make money. Everybody, right? So God made it in a way where either he gives you, says the Chofetz Chaim, either he gives you brains, or he gives you brawn, right? That's what he does. In other words, if a person, let's say, if a person is given, if a person's given brains, very good, right? If they're given brains, okay, right? If not, what happens? God will give you power. God will give you strength, right? In other words, it's not going to be that a person is going to be left in the lurch, right? That's not going to happen, right? That's not going to happen. Why? Because the person will say, "Come on, God." A person will say, "God, you didn't give me brains. If you didn't give me so much brains, not that I'm, mentally challenged, the person's mentally challenged, but let's say there are people out there who's not so bright. Any number of reasons, doesn't really matter, right? But they're not, let's say there are people out there not so bright. Okay. How are they supposed to make a living if they're not so bright? Right? Couldn't they have a claim? They could have a claim and say, "What do you want from me? You didn't give me brains." Right? I'll go back to the Wizard of Oz, not brains, not a heart, right? Whatever. Right? We'll go that far back. But okay, so God will say, okay, you're right. You're not as bright as as other people. Fine. Even if you're not as bright as other people, you can still make a living. How can you make a living? Because you're strong. You can do physical labor. By doing physical labor, that allows you to make money. Right? You work in construction. You work in who knows what. Right? Whatever physical labor that a person can do, they can make money. They can certainly make money. So, and what if a person is not physically strong? Yeah. So God will give them the ability to give them brains. Right? He'll give more brain power to make money. Right? So it's one of the, so the Chofetz Chaim says, he says it's either one or the other. God gives everyone the ability to make money, right? Whether, either you're going to have brains to do it, and God will help you do that. God will give you the brain power to do whatever you need, whatever it's going to be, right? Or he'll give you strength. He'll give you strength, right? And that strength will allow you to make money until you can't do it anymore. Then you might have to do other things, whatever it is. If you can't use the power of your hands, if you're not, let's say, people have work accidents, people, get injured. You're doing physical labor. You can throw out your back, you throw out your arm, different things a person can do. But again, God would keep a person physically fit, long enough for them to make however much money they need to make, right? Or whatever it may be. But God will give them that ability through strength. That's what it'll do. It'll be through strength. But a person can't say, oh, you never gave me the ability. You didn't give me brains, right? See, but when it comes to Torah is a different thing. Torah is a different thing. Why? Because anyone who participates gets something out of Torah. You don't have to be, you don't have to have 100 IQ or 120 IQ. You don't have to be a genius to get something out of Torah. Person can have average intelligence, let's say, but they work really hard. Everybody gets something from learning. Some people get more, some people get less. Everybody gets something. There's a famous medrash. The medrash says that there was a fisherman who died. It was a fisherman that died. So there are two questions when a person dies that God's going to ask you. It's a question of what order. There's a difference of opinion which order it comes in. One question is, did you learn Torah? That's one question. Second question is, were you honest in business? Right? So again, there's a difference of opinion which question comes first. So God asked the fisherman, he said, you learn Torah. So the fisherman said, what do you mean? How could you have expected me to learn Torah? You didn't give me brains to learn Torah. Right? You didn't give me brains. So comes along God, the Medrash, and the Medrash says, very good, I didn't give you brains. You want to claim I didn't give you brains to learn Torah. He says, what did you do? What was your occupation? How'd you make money in this one? He said, I was a fisherman. He said, very good. How'd you make money being a fisherman? So he said he made these nets, and he said how he used to go out early in the morning in different places, and this and that. He was able to trap fish, and that's how he was able to make a living. So it comes on God Himself. The Medrash says, and God says, oh, I bet the same God who gave you brains to be a fisherman probably also gave you brains to be able to learn Torah. Imagine the embarrassment. That's part of what Gehenna is. That's part of what the suffering in the next world is part, not the whole thing, right? It's embarrassment of what you could have done, what your potential maybe could have been, right? Because the Zohar says, there are two movies a person sees when they die. First movie is what they did, right? Anyone's ever had an out-of-body experience? Jews say this, non-Jews, women, children, it doesn't matter, men, women. We don't discriminate over here. They all say the same thing. First thing is they see their life flash before their eyes, right? At a very quick pace, very, very quick pace. The second thing, then they're shown a second movie. Now, the first movie that they're shown is a pretty scary proposition, just like we're recording now. There's a very serious, serious issue here, and that is you can't say you never did this. Because you have two angels following you every day, wherever you go. Yes, when you thought it was safe to read National Geographic in the bathroom, think again, right? You got two angels watching you wherever you go. They're recording, right? They're recording. So once you add your hand in the cookie jar, you can't say, I never had my hand there. God's going to say, what are you talking about? Let's play the video again. Stop! God will say, stop the video. Where's his hands? In the cookie jar, right? He's caught red-handed. Now, that soul can make a claim and say, no, you understand, I needed it, my family was starving, different thing, whatever. So good, that'll be a whole discussion, whether he's going to be guilty or not guilty, whatever, but he did it. He can't deny he did it, right? Everything's being recorded, and every angel, that when the person dies, the person gets judged, all the angels are going to come and say what he did, good or bad. right? For the mitzvah that we did, we create good angels. For the mitzvah that we don't do, or transgression that we do, we create bad angels, right? So the question of the scale, right? What's the scale going to look like? It's going to be the side of bad. It's going to be the side of good. A lot of good stories tell about this, right? So that's the first movie. The first movie is what did I do, right? What did I do in this world? That's the first movie, right? That is the first movie. Now, what is the second movie? What is the second movie that a person sees? The second movie that a person sees is what their potential was. In other words, they see what they went through, and it's going to be clear what they should have done. And then the repercussions are what they are. However God sees it, however God judges it. So that's part of what hell is. Why? Because a person sees what they could have done, sees what the ability that what they could have been, and they're kicking themselves. I don't know how this works in the spiritual world, but they're tearing their hair out if they had any, right? Going out of their minds, embarrassed. They wasted their lives. They wasted their lives. And they'll say, God should have shown me. God's going to say, what do you mean I should have showed you? I showed you this. I showed you that. I showed you the other thing. Right? I showed you all these things. Right? I'll give you one example. Just happened a few weeks back. Right? 300 missiles and drones were sent from Iran. 300. They hit Israel. Now the drones easy to knock off because it takes them 2 hours to come. Right? So you got advance warning. Missiles are coming rapid fire. Right? So there's an article written by I think it was by a physicist, that first of all, the two mechanisms to knock them out never work together. They never ever, the Patriots and this other thing, I forget what it's called, they never work together in sync. Never happened. So they figured, okay, if they send 100, maybe we can knock out 100. 300? And they're going in different directions? What are the odds? What are the odds of hitting such a thing? Of all of them? I was woken up at, 1:30 in the morning, just hearing booms without sirens. It was crazy. I mean, these booms were pretty strong. But these were just things getting knocked off. Yeah, 300. All over the country. Up north, down south, in the middle. What are the odds? What in the world are the odds? They're like 1 in 10 billion? You knock every single one of them? I remember during the, after the Gulf War, I came to Israel, and this is a number of years, after that, talking to someone, a secular Jew. I said, what are the odds 39 Scud missiles are shot from Iraq? It's not that far. These things are supposed to be, pinpoint accuracy, right? I'm not going to get into politics there. Pinpoint accuracy. What are the odds 39 do not hit anything? Anything. Now, Israel's no bigger than the size of the state of New Jersey, right? Any Americans out there? It's very small, right? And you get heavily populated areas. I mean, you got a lot of open land also. Well, you got plenty of populated areas. You want to tell me, okay, 1 doesn't hit anything. Hits an open area. Okay. 2. Okay, I'll throw that in. 3. When you're telling me 3 don't hit anything, not a building, not a fire hydrant, not anything, once you start saying 4, 5, 6, 10, 10 don't hit anything, 10 out of 37. Yeah, sorry, 39 Scud missiles don't hit anything. That's a pretty big miracle. Yeah. So this guy takes off his Casio watch, probably his Casio watch, starts pushing buttons on his calculator. I mean, come on, what if it was 1 in 10 billion? What if it was 1 in a trillion? You got to put, the odds are like 0, right? If I knew there was a 0% chance every time I play roulette that black 13 is going to come up. Like, the thing is rigged. Black 13 will never come up. You're going to be a multi-billionaire. Easily. I'll play those odds. With all the money I don't have, I'll play those odds. 39 don't hit anything? Nothing? So it's one of two options. Either you got the stupidest people shooting the missiles, possibly. That very well could be. Or something else is going on, i.e. God's in charge. Right? Those are the only two options. There are no other options. No wind. Right? Wasn't like it was a cloudy night. You can't use the weather. Right? What other options do you have? That's by 39. Now, you want to tell me 300. 300 don't make it into Israeli airspace and they get knocked off. Yeah. Right? Or the drones, anyway, got knocked off. The other missiles got taken down. Right? You want to tell me 300? Now, this is 10 times the amount. A little less than 10 times the amount. Yeah. 9.6 or whatever it is. Imagine almost 10 times the amount don't hit, all our open areas. No one gets injured. That's pretty darn miraculous. Yeah. Not to mention the fact that these two systems never worked together in sync. This is the first time they ever worked together. So even people running these things said, okay, how many can we knock out? How many is it possible? They said, let's say 1,000. Let's say 100. Right, I won't exaggerate too much. Let's say 100. 100? Okay. 100 we can possibly knock out. That's a third. Right? If you do the math. That's a third. That means you have 200 other drones and missiles. Could create a havoc. Could have killed thousands of people, God forbid. Could have. They all got knocked down. Now, if you're a statistician, now I was very big into statistics, I still am, to a certain extent, right? Depends how you use them, obviously, because you can misrepresent with statistics also. This is pretty darn clear. I got 200 missiles that hit zero. They all get knocked down. It's like playing asteroids. That's what someone said. That's what someone said. They were watching these missiles go overhead and get knocked down. They said it was like the old video game Asteroids. Anyone who knows what I'm talking about. That's what it was like. Knocked every single one of them out of the park. Knocked them out, all of them. Now, they could say, people don't want to admit it's a miracle and it's God. So what are they going to say? Patriots did it. These other, whatever system it was, they weren't aiming in. It's the power of the army. It's the power of that. You don't think any one of them could have missed? I mean, as great as they are, a marksman, a sharpshooter. Yeah, they always hit the target on, every single time. Probably not. Right? I mean, that's what they get paid a lot of money to do. Right? They want to knock out the target. Right? But could they miss? Different things could happen. Sure. Is it probable? I don't know. I don't know what statistics are of sharpshooters and marksmen and whatever, but they probably miss sometime. Right? Probably not that often, but they probably miss. Now, these people running these things, they're also human. Not necessarily marksmen, right? But could they make mistakes and miss? Sure. There was a case a number of years ago where in one of these wars that there was a missile, I think it was sent from Gaza, and the Patriot missed it. And the ones, I guess, were running the Patriots at the time said, wow, this is going to be real damage. Because going straight to Tel Aviv. It should knock down a building or something, God forbid. Right? It should have been a direct hit. What happened? At the last seconds, before a strong wind came, knocked it out to sea, blew it up in the ocean. I said, a wind! Wasn't so windy that day. Yeah, that's what the person telling the story. Wasn't a windy day. A wind came out of nowhere. This is a secular person telling the story. The wind came out of nowhere and knocked this thing into the sea. Before it's going to hit a building or whatever it's going to hit. It was definitely going to be a direct hit. But they missed. Can happen, right? Even to the best, it can happen. Okay, but the odds at the last second, this is gonna move. That the wind's gonna take it. So now, even the biggest atheist out there, what are they gonna say to that? What are they gonna answer? Yeah, they're gonna say you got lucky. This wind came. Where'd the wind come from? There's no wind. All of a sudden, the wind came out of nowhere. Where'd the wind come from? Doesn't matter. The wind came and took it out. Freak of nature. Freak of nature. Anyone who's ever been in during a spring day, a summer day, a summer day is good. Is a good example, right? Imagine, San Diego weather, 75, right? 75, beautiful, sunny, beautiful skies. It's clear. There's no wind. None. You're just baking out there enjoying. There's no wind. There's no wind at all. You want to tell me all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a wind's going to come? What are the odds of that? There's supposed to be no wind, right? You're sitting in a place, there's no wind. Where'd the wind come from? So an atheist could say, it's a freak of nature. Yeah. You want to call that God? Where did the wind come from? A sunny day, no clouds, no wind. Where did it come from? Right? Inquiring minds want to know, where did it come from? See, some people would say by the split of the sea, right? By the split of the sea, by Kriya Jamsuk. Some want to say, how did the sea split? High tide. Very high tide. Made a split. Okay, doesn't that take God out of the picture? Yeah, but they want to try and explain it, even according to nature. They're going to say it's a freak of nature, right? Not necessarily freak of nature, but you can have a high tide that big, really? So it takes God out of the picture. Takes God out of the picture. So people can have an agenda, and people can say, that's not a proof. How is that a proof? 300 missiles. Well, of course, we got the best defense against it. The problem is, these two defense systems have never worked together. This is the first time they put them in action together. Right? Right? So the obvious question is, so where'd it come from? How did it happen? Oh, these Israelis are really smart. They had help from the Americans. Listen, it's a pretty amazing thing. You had help from the Americans. You had help from the Jordanians, of all people, shooting these things down, right? Helping out. You had the Brits, right? I'm not gonna make fun of the Brits over here, right? You got the British also, etc. But they never worked hand in hand. These two systems knocked every single one of them out the first time they ever used them together. That is pretty darn significant. And I heard recently with all the missiles that on October 7th, I think 60% were knocked out by the Patriots. 60%, not 100%. So what happened to the other 40%? 5,000 missiles. Imagine 5,000 missiles, a lot of them, very close range. So you want to tell me 60%, that's 3,000, right? I was very good at that type of math. That's 3,000. I got 2,000 other missiles that are sent across the country, different parts of the country. And they all hit, they don't hit anything. With all the difficulty and all the tragedy that occurred, okay, 2,000 missiles don't hit anything. If you're shooting thousands of miles away, you got ample time to knock them out, maybe. If you're at close range, like 10 miles away, Ashkelon is only 10 miles away, give or take 5 kilometers or 6 kilometers from Gaza. It's not very far. They don't have much time when a siren goes. They don't have much time to get into a shelter, right? With the communities around Gaza, they got 15 seconds. 15 seconds to impact. And even the ones that they send to these places, a lot of them don't hit anything. Right? A lot of them get knocked down, but a lot of them don't hit anything. Some of them do. And they do cause damage. Okay. So God's giving you a wake-up call also. But imagine, a lot of them, shouldn't say a lot, some of them blow up in their own territory, which is exactly what happened in that parking lot of that hotel, of that, what do you call it, of that hospital. When trying to blame, Israel shot, was shooting at civilians. It was their own missile that backfired, right? Truth comes out. Their own missile backfired. A lot of them. Lebanon also, they got that issue. A lot of their missiles backfire. Again, you got one or two possibilities. Someone comes up with other possibilities, I'm open to listen. Yeah. But how can you have so many of these missiles? Okay, you want to tell me they make them out of pipes, they make them out of this, they make them out of that. Whatever material they make them out of. Okay, you got people who supposedly know what they're doing. They should know what they're doing when they shoot them, right? So again, either you're dealing with total ignoramuses, right, and total morons. They don't know what they're shooting. They end up shooting their own people, and they end up in their own territory. Possibility. That is a very real possibility. Or there's something else going on here. You can't shoot at point blank, range, and hit an open field. That would be, I would say, I would give I'll give a baseball analogy. Imagine you're paying someone a lot of money to hit the ball out of the park or to hit it and play or whatever. And this guy's batting $150, right? Or let's say he's batting 110. He ain't in the lineup. This guy ain't in the lineup because he can't hit. You're not going to put him out there. You say he's in a slump. You let him fight through the slump. Some people would allow him to do that. But it's hurting the team. They need someone to put the ball in play. This guy's being paid a lot of money to put the ball in the play. Or even better, let's say he's a pitcher, right? If he's a pitcher and he wins 1 out of 7 times, he ain't pitching. You're sending him to the minors to get fixed up because there's something else going on. This guy stinks, right? He's got like a 15-something ERA. You're not going to let him pitch. Forget it. You got these people shooting these missiles. They're not hitting anything. The majority. That's insane. That is totally insane. Makes no sense logically, especially if you're close. If you're telling me you're thousands of miles away, a lot of things can happen, right? A lot of things can happen. Okay. Right? The Israelis had an advantage with these drones coming. Very good. But they sent so many of them. That was another issue. But it took 2 hours to get here. Okay. So they had advance warning. Very good. Yeah. What about all the other missiles? What about all the other missiles? Yeah. And the 2,000 being sent all over, even close by, don't hit anything? Goodness sakes. So if you want it, so the bottom line is that the Gemara says, if you want to go on the right path, God will help you. If you don't want to go on the right path, God won't stop you. Meaning, if a person wants to say, yeah, this could happen this way, this could happen that way, it's the power of our hands that the Torah says at the end of the book of Deuteronomy. That this generation before the Messiah, people are going to say, oh, look, it's power of our hands, power of our might. Take God right out of the picture. Yeah, that was a prophecy. That was, thousands of years ago. So say it's the army, it's the Patriots, it's America, it's Britain, it's this, but they're not giving God any headlines. They're not giving him any headlines. At all. Now, so a person can say, you can believe what you want to believe. I'm going to believe what I want to believe. Okay. But how do you explain logically that something like this is able to happen? Illogical. 100%, 100% is totally illogical, right? Unless you're living in a world, a God-driven world. And you see that God's the one in charge. And God makes these things happen, right? Listen, you can also make a missile hit and thousands of people get injured or killed. God forbid. Could also. Right? Easily could do that also. So this is the time you got to open your eyes. Right? Even if you could say, oh, it's 1 in a billion, 1 in a trillion chance. Are you kidding? 39, I think, is a big number. For 39 not to hit anything, I think it's a huge number. Huge number. They're not going to hit anything. Want to tell me 300? They all get knocked down, right? All in one shot with different systems working together, knock them all out. That's, that's pretty incredible. If you tell me, again, if you were to tell me that the Patriots knocked out 60%, let's say these systems work together, knocked out 60%. Okay, what about the other 40%? How did the other 40% not hit anything? Nothing. Not a building, not an antenna, nothing. Israel's not that big of a place. There are plenty of open areas, okay? You want to tell me they're going to hit every single time? I mean, okay, this is overkill, but I want people to get the message, right? Not only that, my Rebbe would say, and he has said many times, first of all, you have to see it as an open miracle, no question. Not only do you see it as an open miracle, that has to change you. That has to give you the ability to change and say, wow, look what God did for us. Look at the open miracle that God did. Forget if you live in Israel or not, doesn't matter. Look at this open miracle. So now God's going to demand, okay, if you admit it's an open miracle, and it's not the power of the army, God demands much more now. God's saying, okay, you're aware that I'm in charge. You're aware I'm the one calling the shots. Right? Very good. You're aware of all that. God says, what are you doing to change? What have you done to change? Right? That's what God's going to ask. That's for sure what he's going to ask. Right? I did this open miracle for what? Right? We're going to read this week's Parsha, Parsha's Kedoshim. We're going to get there one day. We'll get there one day. Probably when I'm a lot older. At the end of the Parsha, verse 25, it says God distinguishes, translated here, God distinguished between the pure animal, the impure animal, between the impure bird and the pure bird. That you shouldn't disgust yourself by eating these creepy crawly things or things that crawl on the ground, because God distinguished between you not to eat anything impure. Verse 26, why? He says, because I want you to be holy because I'm holy, and I separated you from all the nations to be for me. Yeah. What's the purpose God took us out of Egypt? One purpose is so we don't eat trash. We don't eat non-kosher things. He didn't take us out of Egypt so we could eat shrimp, so we could eat lobster, so we could eat other things. He took us out, why? To distinguish us from everybody else. And that's what all the anti-Semites say. We're different. We don't keep the same holidays as them. We don't eat the same foods as them, right? The Jewish anti-Semites say the same thing. If only we'd be like everybody else, right? If we don't be like everybody else, then the non-Jews wouldn't discriminate against us. It wouldn't be anti-Semitism. How does that work for the Jewish people? Imagine, see what's going on now. I'm not going to get into politics here, right? I'll just mention one thing. You see what's going on in universities across America. Even the greatest, quote unquote, the Ivy Leagues. The amount of Ivy League alma mater, Columbia, yeah? You got thugs. That's what they are, thugs. Punks taking over these places because of, quote unquote, Israeli genocide. Now, that being said, my wife said, could you imagine 30 years ago, not being allowed to get into school because you're a Jew? Unheard of. Would have been unheard of. Right? So I'm dating myself. So let's say 38 years ago. Yeah. When I started university. That's pretty incredulous. You wouldn't be allowed to go into certain places. I got to go to class. They barricaded the doors. They stand around you, probably throw you to the ground. Who knows what else? Not allowed to go in. What do you mean not allowed to go in? This is freedom of speech. I'm not even going to go into freedom of speech, but they have a right. They have a right. If this was done against any other ethnic group, they would have burned down the university. They would have burnt it to the ground. But for Jews, it's okay, right? We're not getting into anti-Semitism. I've spoken about it quite a bit. But you see, clear as day, we're part of their system. Right? This is what the German Jews said, well, why are you rounding us up? We're just like you. We fought in your wars. We married your women. We went to your schools. So Hitler didn't care if you had a quarter Jewish blood, half Jewish blood, irrelevant. Doesn't matter which side, whether you're mother's side, your father's side. It didn't matter. You had Jewish blood, that's it, you're dead. You deserve to die. So what does that show you beyond the shadow of a doubt? Education does not make you more moral. Heard a great rabbi once say, I've been more than willing to send my kids to university if they would come out as moral or more moral, when they went in, than before they went in. But you see, who are the biggest anti-Semites? And this bears out who were the first ones to join the Third Reich? Lawyers, doctors, academics. They were the ones who joined. Wasn't the skinheads of today. Right? Why? Because the more intelligent a person is, the more they can convince themselves why this is right. Why it's okay to treat a Jew worse than a dog. Right? There's different reasons behind, what's going on. But the point is, this is not 1939. Right? You're 75 years after 1939, if my math is right. 75 years, it's a different world. It's a different world. Anti-Semitism is alive and well. Never been dead. Sometimes it's better, sometimes worse. Never seen anything like this since the Holocaust. But imagine, they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to these universities. Yeah. And the kids can't get in because they're being barricaded out. And they're not allowed to go in. Back in my day, unheard of. No one even thought such a thing. To any ethnic group. Jews, blacks, Hispanics, Asians, doesn't matter. You're not going to allow them in? You're not going to allow anyone who's Oriental because of what China does to its own people? You're going to barricade the door? Yeah, there was a time during the Vietnam War. Some, protests, they did that. Okay, that was, that's another thing. Protesting against the war, and against the draft. And, okay. You ever seen anything like this? Nothing. Mind-boggling. Yeah. And the most mind-boggling part, while I'm on this rant, the most mind-boggling part is that these people don't know their elbow from other parts of their body. They don't know anything about what it is. We're causing genocide. Israel just got chastised again from America, telling them don't go into Rafah, because of the humanitarian issue. What other nation? What other nation has ever been put up to the standard? Nobody. They have to go in. They don't have a choice. They have to end this. That's quote unquote. That's where they're going to end it. That's their last stronghold. Whatever it's going to be. But they're putting a lot of pressure not to go in. That'd be a disaster if they don't go in. They're going to let these maggots still be alive. Yeah, you got to go in. Just flatten the place. That's the only thing to do. The only thing people understand. As we always say, if this was Texas and Mexico did this to Texas, it would have flattened Mexico like a pancake. Nothing to talk about. No more Taco Bell. No more burritos. It's over. It's over. They went into Iraq. How many tens of thousands of people they killed? Anyone say anything? No. Assad, 600,000 of his own people he gassed. Anyone say anything? What are the UN condemnations? Nothing. And if there was, okay, but nothing. Why? We're held to a totally different standard. Totally different standard. It's like having your hands tied behind your back and say, okay, come on, hit me again. Come on, hit me again. Does it make any sense rationally? No. Israel's been condemned in the UN. Israel's only 1/1000 of the world's population. They've been condemned more than any other nation combined. And they've only been around since 1948. What are around for 76 years? Condemned! More than anybody else. This is their only partner in the Middle East. Does that make any sense? Doesn't make any sense. Jewish people's existence doesn't make any sense rationally. Nebuchadnezzar should have wiped everybody out. That would have been the end of the Jewish people. The Second Temple. Destroyed. Finished. Somehow the Jews survived. There were massacres, Holocaust throughout history. Things haven't changed. And we're still around. Right? A lot of people ask the question, why are Jews still here? Why are they still here? So I read an article the other day where someone said, some people have the right idea. Kids being harassed, a lot of anti-Semitism in public schools, right? Let's take the kid out, put him in a Jewish school. Yeah. Might have been a secular Jewish school, whatever, but put him in a Jewish school. Where are you going to leave him in such a place? Anti-Semitism is going up, up the gazoo. It's crazy. It's a crazy thing. But anti-Semitism, you got to remember. Right? Didn't I say I was going to speak about this? Anti-Semitism is all about Esav hates Yaakov. Right? So someone once told me, if more people become Noahites and we reach out to more Noahites, very good. Yeah, so there'll be no anti-Semitism. I said, not true. Anti-Semitism is not going to die till the Messiah comes. It may be less anti-Semitism if you have more non-Jews that are Noahites that, stand with the Jewish people. Okay. Never going to die, though. Why is it never going to die? Same reason. Because it's got to be around till the Messiah comes. Sometimes it'll be better, sometimes it'll be worse. I don't think anyone imagines. I think anybody imagines it's going to be like this. It's going to be like this right now. It's crazy. Right? Crazy. So, yeah, let me take some questions here. I see there's some questions here. 1 second. It's all Hashgacha Pratis, right? It's all divine providence, 100%. God throws us a bone every so often just to get us to see it, right? Question is, how can a person merit see and notice more Hashgacha Pratis in their life? Good question. Very, very good question. Right? How can we merit to see divine providence, what we call Hashgacha Pratis, in everyday life? Right? What would be the simple answer? So the simple answer, I would say, is that, first of all, a person has to be a vessel to be able to want to see it. Meaning, someone came to the Brisker Rav Yisrael Zev Soloveitchik, blessed memory, who's the son of Rav Chaim Brisker, one of the Torah giants of the last generation, and my Rebbe had a very close connection to. If someone came to the Brisker Rav from America and asked the following question, and he said, more people would repent, more Jews, meaning more Jews would repent, come to Torah and mitzvahs, if God would do open miracles. If God would do open miracles, so this person claims, if God does open miracles, then a lot more people, a lot more Jews are going to come back to Torah mitzvahs. So the Brisker Rav said, not true. He said, not true. Why? He said, you have to, first of all, he says, you have to be a vessel to be able to see. He says, if you're a vessel, if you're searching for truth, and you want truth, yeah, then you'll be able to see it. If a person decides they want fantasy, then whatever they see around them will be fantasy. That's what they want. They don't want to hear about difficulty in life. They don't want to hear about sick people. They don't want to hear about giving charity to help other causes and this and that. They want to live their life however they want to live it. Don't bother me. I want to take fantasy. Come on. It's the NFL. It's the, what do you call it, NHL playoffs. It's the NBA playoffs. Come on. That's real. That's what I want. I want fantasy. What next movie's coming out, right? Which next Marvel movie's coming out? Who knows what? Whatever. That's what I want. Think about life. Life and death and what it really means. Israelis grew up a lot quicker than most other people because of the situations they've been in. Yeah, but other places also people have been, persecuted and different things. No, nothing like the Jewish people. Right? No offense, any other group's been persecuted, but I don't think it comes close, to the Jewish people. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to see it. You got to be able to see and have the eyes to see. Now, what makes someone have the eyes to see? The only thing that's going to make a person see is their connection to God, is their connection to Torah. If they don't have a connection to Torah, then someone can take off their fancy watch and start pushing buttons and tell me it's a 1 in 3,250,850,927 chance. I know I just came up with that number, right? You come up with that chance that 39 Scud missiles will not hit anything. That's a pretty small number, extremely small number. So someone could be delusional, and that's what they are. They are absolutely, they're crazy and psychologically unstable. They're delusional to say that something like that is a possibility. You put it in every computer. One has to hit. At least one has to hit something tangible. No computer is ever going to say 0. I'll put all the money I don't have on the table and say no computer will show it. No one. To say it's a 0% chance? That's only 39. You want to tell me 300? 300? It's off the charts. Now, someone could, what's the counter argument? The counter argument is someone's going to say, what do you mean? You have the Patriot missiles. You have this other thing. Whatever it was, they worked hand in hand. You had all these top military and blah, blah, blah. Koachot and Vianti, power in my hand. We did it. We did everything. But people are admitting it's not possible. People in the field of science are saying it's not possible. Because both systems working together was unproven. Meaning it didn't happen. It never happened until this point. So again, if you're using one system works pretty well, the other system you don't know, you're going to put them both together. You want to tell me when you put them together for the first time in such a situation, you're going to knock out every single one? I don't care about the drones, they're easier to knock out. Very good. Yeah, what about all the other missiles? What about all the other missiles? You want to tell me there's a chance you're going to knock out every single one? That is pretty darn, I would say you got to be the biggest pompous, you fill in the blank to say such a thing. The army itself didn't say it. They didn't say you're going to have 100%. They said if we hit 100, we'll be lucky. Because they were going in so many different directions. 100! So how do you see Hashgacha Pratis? You got to have your eyes open. The more Torah you learn, the more you're able to see. The less Torah you learn, you're blind as a bat. I've seen this many times. Just learning something this morning, right? It comes out pretty clear, right? Actually, it was in the Chobos Bubbles that basically says in Duties of the Heart that if you see it, he said if you're able to see, not only divine providence, but you understand how things work in the world in general. Yeah. In the, talking spiritual terms, that a person has the ability to come out of darkness. In other words, they're going to be brought into light, right? God's light. What's God's light? It's seeing the fact that God is nature. And miracles happen. Yeah. So, but you have to have the ability to see. So the Holy says, and he's not the only one, many others say the same thing. And that is that if you have divine providence, if you're going in the right path and you're doing what God wants, that brings you closer to him. That gives you the ability to see, to come out of darkness. Now, what is darkness? Right? And, we talk about the Greeks, when we talk about Hanukkah, we're living in a very Greek world, right? Education, other things that the Greeks brought to the world, even though, those Greeks aren't around anymore. But, that's the world we live in. At the end of the day, the rabbis call the Greeks darkness. Now, that would be, let's say, like an Orthodox Jew saying that, education, these people are just a bunch of animals, right? These people, they don't work on character development. These people know better than animals. Yeah. What would a secular Jew, non-Jew, if a person, let's say an Orthodox Jew made such a statement, and they say, yeah, people in university, they're all brainwashed. It's a cult. They try and convince you of things, blah, blah, blah. They're going to think you're a right-wing fanatical nut. They're going to say, what do you mean? That's education, right? We're keeping our minds open till our brains fall on the floor. We can't come out against it. You're not allowed to come out against it. That's critical thinking. Critical thinking, right? So that's heresy. Essentially, that's heresy, right? But they're going to say, what do you mean? You got to think things out. You can't, you guys are being brainwashed. Who's being brainwashed here? Let me ask a very fundamental question. I'll ask the $1 million question. We'll see if we up the ante. Is it possible in this day and age, certainly in the States or other places, I'll throw this out there just as a question, right? Not really a theoretical question, but is it possible for someone, let's say in the workforce, we're going to make it nice and juicy here, right? In the workforce, you're working with someone, Bill and Tom say, hey, we're getting married, we want to invite you to the wedding. Like, Bill, Tom, very nice. I can't come. It's an abomination. Yeah. The Bible says it's an abomination. Sorry, you want to do what you want to do? Very good. I can't say it's a good thing. Right? I will not say it's a good thing. It goes against my religion. What could they do? Okay, you don't want to go to their wedding, fine. Could they say that's discriminatory, what you just said against them? Right? Someone goes to a florist. They want they want a whole flower decoration thing for their wedding, right? Two men getting married. Florist says, sorry, I don't believe in that. I'm not, go find someone else. It could be sued. Totally sued. Right? There was somebody who worked for a county clerk in America pushing papers. Two people come in, want to get married, say, no, I'm not pushing the paper. It's a serious issue. Right? I'm sort of making light of it a little bit, but these are serious issues. Now, that has protection. We're having a freedom of speech. Right? You're saying, they're going to say, oh, separation of church and state. Okay. But this goes against what I believe in. If it goes against what I believe in, I don't have to say it's good. Oh, but if you don't, and it's discriminatory, you get fired. Where's the logic? Where's the logic? These people are going against the basis of what life's all about, i.e., having children, being fruitful, multiply. Again, we'll make it easy by two men getting married, keep this clean. Yeah, if that perpetuated itself, right? Unless, if everybody did it, how women going to have children? Very good. You won't have another population. You won't have a next generation. Okay, so that's an extreme. Maybe that's an extreme. Okay. But why? Why is that going crazy? Why is that freedom of speech? And not only that, you're giving people the opportunity. You're giving people the opportunity at the ripe old age of 5, 6, 7, and trying to convince them, who says you're in the right body? They want to tell me by an adult, a young adult, they want to make a decision, whatever. Their choice. They want to tell me younger kids? That's not brainwashing. That's giving them an opportunity. An opportunity. You're giving someone who has no understanding of anything, right? They have no understanding of anything, and you're trying to persuade them that maybe they're not the same person that they think they are. Give them low self-esteem, other things. Well, I tell the story, someone in our high school class, wasn't, let's just say it was a guy, wasn't the most masculine of people, let's say. He ran, I don't know, they did running races, other things, whatever, and yeah, he turned out to be gay. Now, what happened? See what happens, a lot of peer pressure. Felt, he didn't feel vindicated, whatever, and that's what happened. I mean, good part of it. Anyway, but, no one was surprised because of different things that happened. But okay. So, bring an example like that. Other things, society is very powerful. Very, very powerful. The left has a tremendous agenda. Tremendous. So you're trying to brainwash people, and the left isn't? And the media isn't? Right? It's kind of crazy. People that want to speak about Torah and mitzvahs, what do you think? A lot of this stuff goes viral. Doesn't go viral. Some people, have a lot more views, less views. Why isn't it going to go viral? Because they don't want it to go viral. They don't want people to speak about the truth. They want to suppress people. They want to make sure people don't get to see it. Right? They have a whole algorithm how to do it. So that's surprising. So the only people that are going to see things are the ones that really want to see it. That's really the answer. If you want to see it, you got to work on your belief and faith in God. You got to keep Torah mitzvahs to a high level, etc. You got to keep plugging away. And you can see it all the time. It's not hard to see, right? You have to be, as the Brisker Rov said, you have to be a vessel to be able to see, right? If you're not a vessel to see, no matter what happens, nothing will happen, right? You got to be that vessel. Somebody mentioned very good. Yeah. In the UK, someone stopped an Orthodox person, told them not to provoke people with their appearance. It's crazy. It's crazy. I'll ask, anyone in England, imagine if they went up to somebody dressed up, like a Muslim. They wouldn't do that to a Muslim. You know why? Because they burned down the entire city. Are they going to do that to a Pakistani? Are they going to do that to a Sikh? A Hindu? No. Why? Because we dress differently. You ever see how a Sikh dresses? Funny thing on their head and long coats or whatever. That's not a provocation, right? They can dress however they want. Muslim can dress whatever they want. They can take over a subway station or pray on the ground, right? Stop up traffic for hours. Imagine if 10 Orthodox Jews decided to pray at the subway station outside. What do you think is going to happen? We're having freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is only for everybody except Jews. But this has gone crazy. This has gone crazy where, first of all, we don't have the right to say anything, right? But at the same time, these people doing whatever they're doing, you come out against them, you go to jail, you lose your job. Why in that case is that discrimination? Well, it goes on against Jews that they can't go to their own college campuses and go to classes, that's not. And that's okay. Right? So the very, very fine line here between freedom of speech, right, and anti-Semitism. That's why these, 3 college presidents got nailed. 2 of them had to resign. Right? These idiots, because they refused to call out, the genocide goes against school policy. Genocide against Jews. You imagine if you said genocide against Asians? Is genocide against Asians or blacks or Hispanics, does that ever go against school policy? Depends on the context. You think someone's going to say that? Don't they want to live? They can be out of their minds. But Jews, free game. Say whatever you want. That's not discrimination. That's free speech. How far does free speech go? Free speech is not so free, is it? Right? But even without getting into subtleties of what makes something anti-Semitic or not, people can say, that, no uncertain terms, from the river to the sea, that's not discriminatory. That's not calling for genocide. Right? But saying that it goes against your beliefs, same-sex marriages, that you could lose your job. It doesn't make any sense. It makes absolutely no sense. Logically. It doesn't make any sense. And if someone, these people dress the way they dress in their parades, that's not a provocation. Right? Right? Oh, what's the exact language here? Because I want to quote it properly. They're not provoking people, right? That's what I wanted to say. That's not provocation. So if I go outside dressed like an Orthodox Jew, right, a black hat and a suit and whatever, that's provocation. So you can say, well, you're asking for people to hit you and to do other things. I'm dressing the way I should dress. Someone does that, that's their problem. I'm going to change the way I dress. Imagine, a Sikh or whoever walks around, dressed the way they are. What, they have a target on their back? I'm going to say, okay, kick me, shoot me, spit on me. Only Jews do, nobody else does. Is that logical? No. Anti-Semitism does not have to be logical. Does not have to be logical. So how can a person merit to see it? You got to learn more. The more you learn, the closer you are to God, the more you see. The more you see. I think some things are blatantly obvious to see. Right? Other things sometimes we only see, later. We don't see directly. We don't see. Right? Tzfas Emes, first Ger Rebbe, blessed memory, said even in his generation was lost to be able to try and, understand things, what they're going through. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu couldn't do that. He had the 48th level of understanding. He didn't have the last level of understanding. So he says, I want to see God face to face. God says, you can only see me from behind. What does it mean from behind? You can only see in hindsight. Right? So somebody mentioned, you're right. Every so often, God will throw us a bone. Right? God will throw us a bone sometimes. Very good. He'll throw us a bone. Get us to see. Get us to understand. Right? A lot of times we don't see. A lot of times we don't see. We're living in a world of hiddenness within hiddenness. It's very, very hard to see. But the more a person, I guess my short, long answer is, the more of a person that's tuned into Torah and mitzvahs, the easier it is to see. Right? Now, does that mean you're going to see it straight away? No. There are many things, right? How many times we've been through certain things, we thought it was the worst thing in the world, and it turned out to be very good. There's a story. Daughter told a story. Somebody that, a friend of hers that she knows, got stopped for talking on her phone, texting, whatever, while driving. Yeah, it's a pretty severe prohibition everywhere. Big fine here. And she's like, a single mother, a bunch of kids. It's like, how am I going to pay this fine? Like, how in the world am I going to pay this fine? She had no idea. So, the person she was speaking to said, say right now, this is the best thing that could have happened to you. And thank God for putting you through this. Say it, right? It's tremendous merit over here. Of course, they didn't want to say it, but they said it. They said, say it with everything you got. Say it, deep within. Like you really believe it. What happened? So she put this story up on social media. She wasn't necessarily, asking for help, per se. But she put this thing up, and someone contacted her, and someone said, I want to help you. Well, this is a person that had a lot of money. And it says, I want to help you. I want to take care of I want to take care of this fine. Whatever. So it just so happens she has a sister that needs to go to seminary, right? It's a year after high school. Parents don't have any money, whatever. And I don't know, somehow that came out in the conversation also. So this guy asked her, he said, well, how much do you need? I was like, come on. It's like, no, how much do you need? So she threw out a certain amount. And the person said, okay, I'm going to send it to you right now. Now, think about the situation. This could have been any of them, right? You get a ticket, you have no idea how it's going to get paid. Yeah? So whatever, you put the story up. Not that you're asking anyone for money. You put this story up, let's say. So out of nowhere, someone not only offers to help you pay the ticket, but they're offering to also help your sister learn for the next year. It's going to save her in many ways. So what we see, we don't see. Does the ticket look really bad? Sure. No question. The big fine. If you don't have a lot of money, a big fine's a big fine. Right? But look what it led to. Thing is, the person can say, well, I'm in that situation. I say it's magic formulas are always going to work. It doesn't always work. Right? But again, if God sees the depth of a person's heart, things, what really looks bad is not bad. But we don't see it though. Right? It's very hard to see. So when it comes to divine providence, what do we have to pray for? What should we pray for? That we're a vessel to be able to see. That we want this closeness. We don't want to, get lost in social media and get lost in watching things we shouldn't watch and waste time in this and that. Right? We want to be the best, the best people that we can be. In serving God, not get distracted. That's how you see it. That's how you have the power to see it, staying on that path. And the more you stay on the path, I don't care. People are going to say, oh, you're close-minded, you're this, you're back into your books. You're right. That's the most important thing. I had someone once tell me, said, yeah, what the parents say is, come on. You think God is everything? You think the most important thing? Right? So I told them, you know what the answer is? What else? What's more important? Tell me what's more important. The NBA playoffs? That's more important. Eating a big meal till you burp out loud or whatever. That's more important. What's more important? What's more important? Does someone say, oh, it's family, it's it. Okay. Right? There are things within that. Okay, you got to deal with family. Other things, very good. But what's more important than having a direct connection to God? Nothing. Whether a person converts or don't convert, doesn't matter. That's the most important thing. I live in a world of distraction, very true. So you got to not get distracted. Someone told me, why is it that I find it's a lot easier to play video games and learn Torah? I said, you want to know the answer? Because video games, you don't have to think. Video games just you just numb your mind. That's all you do. It's you don't have to do it with other people. You can watch things, be a couch potato. It's very enjoying. You're not doing anything. You're not using your mind at all. And of course, it's a lot more enjoyable. But now, you're trying to learn something, it's very hard, and the details very picayune. What would you rather do? I'd rather numb my mind. Not me. Other people would rather numb their mind because it's too hard. You're right, it's hard. Very good. Nothing easy is worthwhile. Yeah. Something's hard, you got to work for something. Right? So you got to be a vessel. You got to be a vessel to be able to see it. And you got to pray every day. God gives you the ability to be able to see it. Because the closer you are to God, the easier things you see. Right? It's easier to see. But you got to remember, you're living in a world of hiddenness within hiddenness. So it'll be very easy for someone to say, 300 missiles, these two things work together. Very good. It's the power of my hand. It's one way to look at it. Definitely one way to look at it. I'm not saying it's the right way. What's the other way to look at it? God's in charge. Two people, that's why two people can see the exact same thing, come to very different conclusions. They're not Scud missiles, don't hit anything, that's God. Someone else looks at the same way, yeah, it's 1 in 3,525,850,000, whatever chance it could have. You're seeing the same thing. One person wants to see. Each person sees what they want to see, quote unquote. One person will say it's 1 in 5 billion chance. The other person will say that's so small, it's got to be God. Can't be anything else. Nothing else makes sense. Yeah, but you have to be a vessel. That's what the Brisker Rov says. You have to be a vessel over here. So the more you are a vessel of doing God's work and doing what He wants, the easier it is to see. And there are things I think are easier to see. They're more obvious. And there are other things that it's hiddenness within hiddenness. We don't see. We don't see till very late. We don't see it. Right? It might take years, might take months, whatever it is. Then you understand why this happened, that happened, the other thing happened. But while it's going through, you don't know. People, I'll give one example. People give all kinds of predictions when former Soviet Union went into Ukraine. Everyone was talking about this, the end of days, and blah blah blah. As far as I understand, you can take this with a grain of salt. But so Putin is not looking to take over the world. I don't think that's his goal. That's not his goal. He wants to make Russia stronger, better, whatever. Thinks this land belongs to them, whatever, and keep everyone in line, whatever. He's not looking for war, World War III. Because that's not what it seems like. We'll see. But a lot of people are claiming, it's the end of days. It could have been, maybe it still could be. I don't know. Depends how God's going to orchestrate. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But a lot of people are very quick to say, this could be it. It could be. We see right now it isn't. Right? We see right now it isn't. Right? We see everything hinges on Iran. That's what it hinges on. Right? The Medrash says, if there's going to be war, Gog and Magog, the end of days. Right? The Medrash says it's going to start with the king of Paras. Who's the king of Paras? Where's Paras today? That's modern day Iran. Now, it's going to happen that way? I'm not saying it's going to happen that way, but it makes sense. Right? I think it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Let me see other questions here. Jews always be guests in exile, right? Right. One of my kids was just in America, and there are a lot of people. I asked they're my old neighborhood in Lakewood, where my daughter grew up, and I said, "How many people?" I just asked her now. I said, "How many people, were so jealous of you coming back?" So not too many. People very comfortable in exile. Very, very comfortable. Come on, Lakewood's one of the, Lakewood, New Jersey, one of the strongest Jewish communities in America. Yeah, no question. But it's America. Okay. So many people, unless they're stuck there, let's say they got parents there and they're much older, they have to take care of or whatever. How many people are coming to Israel because of all this? So someone told me in a certain place, after October 7th, nobody came to Israel. What they do, they're all about guns. Now, if you can't get here, there's a reason you can't live in the land. Okay, there are legitimate reasons why person can't live here. Very good. But how many people really don't, are not interested in coming here? My daughter said, some woman she spoke to, very, very religious, very, very ultra-Orthodox, this and that. Nope. They're missing anything in Israel. We're happy where they are. It's exile, right? We're all, even in Israel, in exile. Right? That's true. Right? That's true. So someone here points out, very good. Very good. We can't feel too comfortable. Anytime the Jews felt too comfortable anywhere, they got thrown in. They were very successful just about everywhere they went. And almost every country in the world's thrown them out. What's God telling you? You don't belong there. You don't belong there. You don't want to fit in like everyone else. You don't want to be the best of the best over there. Right? It's temporary. This world is temporary. But how many people are thinking of, where they really should be? And the mentality is, even by the strongest Jewish communities around the world, they're not coming here. I'm not waving my Zionist flag here, but they're not coming. Why aren't they coming? What's the simple reason they're not coming? Because they have a diaspora mentality. They're living a good life, even if it's hard. Got bigger houses there. It's easier to live there, in many ways than living in Israel, no question. Have to deal with the Arabs, other things, but look what's going on there. I just heard like this viral thing, this 102-year-old Holocaust survivor saying this is exactly what happened in Germany. This is exactly what happened in 1939. This is what's happening. Again, 30 years ago or 20 years ago, you wouldn't have heard such a thing on college campuses. Jews aren't allowed to go to class, they have to barricade themselves in from these thugs. I mean, it's insane. It is 100% totally insane. So the good news is, this is what's supposed to be before the Messiah comes. What's the thing you have to work on the most when the Messiah comes? Emunah. Our belief and faith in God. There are a lot of people scared right now. They should be. You know, a person living there who want to send their kids to college today, to university. Certainly in the States. Who wants to send them there? What's to take a gun and shoot yourself in the head? That's insane. Now, someplace may be better, maybe. But look at this. You know, this is something that didn't happen overnight. It's all coming out now. This is nothing new. But Qatar and other places, they invested billions in all these schools, Ivy League schools, not Ivy League schools. Billions. Billions to give over their influence. And this is the fruit of their labor. This is something that led me to ask the question, what happened to intelligence? I was much younger. I saw these kids even, smarter than me, but they were all getting wasted and doing drugs and different things. I was like, it didn't make sense to me. Totally didn't make sense. So someone explained to me, like, with the parable. The parable was, imagine in the middle of the ocean, in a sailboat, no motor. You take the rudder, you throw it overboard. Where does the sailboat go? Wherever the wind takes it. Goes around in circles. Yeah, that's morality. And that's intelligence. Intelligence doesn't make you more moral. And this is something I struggled with for a long time. For a long time when I was younger. It didn't make sense to me. How could people be so intelligent and be so cruel and do other things? Didn't make sense to me. Later it made more sense, a lot more sense. Because again, what does intelligence do? I had people say anti-Semitic things to me. These people were very bright. Also, comment here, comment there. I wasn't an Orthodox Jew by any stretch. But you sing it off for being a Jew. I had one, like 3 Jewish kids in my high school. They have like 1,000 kids. So that was a wake-up call. I got involved in the Jewish organization. I got, with more Jews and different things, but that's where I went to public school. This is what was there. People, again, the class I was in, people weren't dummies by any stretch. Not dummies at all. So what happened? What happened to intelligence? So we said before, you see, anti-Semites are the cream of the crop. Because they can convince themselves of all kinds of things because they're smarter, but it's mind-boggling, just the ignorance that even these quote-unquote, intelligent people have. They don't know facts at all. It's just the saying, that's what the Arabs are good at, is propaganda and lies. That's what they do. They steal, they lie. Right? Not saying all of them. That's part of the trademark. Same lie, we stole their land, we did, and we're occupied. Haven't we said before Mark Twain, Samuel Langhorne Clemens wrote Huckleberry Finn, right? And Tom Sawyer, right? Wasn't a religious person by any stretch. He came in the late 1800s. Came to Israel in the late 1800s. And he said exactly what the prophet said. The place was flattened like a pancake. There was nothing here. Nothing here in the late 1800s. Where are the Palestinians? Where are they? Where are the displaced people? Where are the closed down buildings in exile? Where were they? Proof in the pudding, there is nobody here. You ever hear in the time of the Ottoman Empire? Ottoman Empire and the Greeks, the Romans, this, that. Where were these people? Where were they? Where was this entity? They didn't exist till we made them, till these early idiots made them. And kept them as refugees and whatever. They didn't come from history. Anyone knows any Israeli history, they know that. So what do? It's propaganda. They've been lying. Again, I think it's one of the top 3 lies in the history of man. Right? Christianity's up there, evolution's up there, and this is up there. That there's such a thing as a Palestinian people. The unbelievable lie. It's perpetuated all over the place. All throughout the media. We're occupiers. What do we think? Who was here? Bunch of nomads? We took land from a bunch of nomads? This land was bought. Go look at history. It was bought legally. Where was the outcry when the Ottomans were? Where was the outcry when the British were? Stole our land. You put our people in jail. You exiled. You murdered us. Where? Where are they? Where's the evidence? Oh, come on. Get me a fact checker. Get me a fact checker. A real fact checker. Yeah? And what's the facts going to say? Which they'll never come out. But what are the facts going to say? We do anything. Because they weren't here. They didn't exist. But they'll still say the same thing. So, still say the exact same thing. So you have to have the eyes to see. Why isn't that brainwashing, by the way? What the media does, that's not brainwashing. Why is that brainwashing? They're convinced of the same lie, perpetuating the same lie. We don't claim to be open-minded, right? No one's going to think we're open-minded. We're not claiming to be open-minded. Yeah? We just want the facts. Show me the facts. If the facts prove it, very good. If they don't, they know that. They know that. They know what the truth is. But that's not brainwash. That's education. That's, it's a big difference. It's a very big difference. Someone here asks, what's the psik ratio? Right? I'm totally off topic, but that's okay. What's the psik ratio? It means if a person does something on Shabbos, if they do something where every time, one aspect of it is that every time you do the action, it's going to be forbidden. For instance, if a person took a bench, right? If you took a bench and you dragged it across a dirt path, every single time you are going to make a groove. That is forbidden. That's called a psik ratio on the Yichud. And it's something I don't need. So one aspect of it is it's either something I do where every single time you do it's going to be a forbidden action, or it's something, let's say, whatever, leave it at that, right? That's usually usually that is usually that's the case. You have other cases where there's what it really means is like there's a side effect, right? There's a side effect of what you've done that makes it prohibited. So let's say, right, so we use that example as a bench, or let's say it's a windy day. You have a lit candle on Shabbos. Let's say we have a candle lit by the door. You open the door, the candle goes out. Right? Something like that. So if I open the door, very good. I'm allowed to open the door, right? It's not a problem. Problem is, I'm extinguishing the fire. That's forbidden. Right? You have another case. Another case like that. Or you have a case, let's say, you want to play with this chicken head. So how do you play with this chicken head? You cut off the head, right? Now, cutting off, playing with the chicken head, the question should be okay or not. But in order to take the chicken head, you got to cut off the chicken. You have to cut off the head. That would be, that would be forbidden. So again, if you know 100% that action is going to be forbidden, and you're not allowed to do it. If it's, let's say, again, you want the chicken head, but you don't have intention really to kill the chicken. But the only way to get the chicken head off is to kill the chicken. So that's going to be, forbidden. So in essence, that's what that is. Someone asks, why is there animal suffering when they can't sin? Because there are certain things. Let's say a person transgressed with an animal. Yeah, they did something wrong with an animal. Yeah, so the animal's put to death. Why is the animal put to death? You're gonna say the animal didn't do anything wrong, right? Maybe the animal didn't do anything wrong. Right, even if that's true, but now this animal's going to be around, and this animal is going to, and if this animal would be alive, people are going to say, "Oh, look, this was Reuven's animal. This was Reuven's. This was Reuven's animal, right? So if it's Reuven's animal, right, the animal's running around, makes Reuven look pretty bad, no? Right, so that's why it would be that's why you don't leave the animal around, because technically, even though the animal didn't do anything wrong, right? Even though technically the animal didn't do anything wrong, the animal pays the price for what the person did, right? So the animal is programmed DNA, but if a person used it the wrong way, right, or did something wrong, and you kept the animal alive, that's going to be a problem. Right, that essentially would be a problem because people go say, "Oh, look, this animal, this is Reuven's animal, and whatever." It's an embarrassment to Reuven, right? The animal's still alive, even if Reuven's still not alive, doesn't matter. It's still an embarrassment to him if the animal stays alive, so therefore the animal gets killed. People might say, "But the animal didn't sin," doesn't matter. The animal sinned through Reuven, and because the animal sinned through Reuven, that animal gets killed. That's what I would say on that. Someone asked, can you make salad on Shabbos with sauce? It depends. It depends. If, let's say, that there is a problem with mayonnaise, right? In other words, if it would make it into like one thick mixture, that would be forbidden. But salads shouldn't be a problem because unless you cut it really, really thin, right? If you cut the salad really, really thin, which would be a problem of grinding, it's like grinding, right? But if let's say you would cut them really thin and you mix them with other, with the sauce, that's not a problem, right? Salad dressing, sauce, that shouldn't be a problem because it's not making it into one entity. If I would use, let's say, if I would use mayonnaise, right? If I would use mayonnaise, then that might be an issue if it makes it thick, right, into one entity. If it makes it thick into one entity, yeah, maybe it might be a problem. Because they make it into like a paste, let's say. Right? Salad's probably less of an issue, but any other type of sauce, any type of salad dressing, doesn't matter. Even let's say they have Thousand Island dressing, which is it's like mayonnaise and tomato sauce, I think, together. Whatever it is, it's still, even though it's thicker, it's still not going to do that. Any other dressing, that's like liquidy, will never do that. So that wouldn't be a problem. The only issue was making it into a paste. Right, if you make it much thicker, that would be an issue. You have to prepare them. Yeah, that would be a definite. 1 second here. Yeah, that would be a definite. That would be a definite. That would be a definite issue. Otherwise, any other dressing shouldn't be a problem. Someone asks, after the meal, let's say you ate bread, you have dessert, you say Birkas Hamazon, say grace after meals, okay? Then after you eat dessert and say blessing for dessert, you can say Birchas Hamazon. Grace after meals covers dessert also, no matter what you eat for dessert. Right? Whether you eat cake, you eat candy, you eat ice cream. Grace after meals will cover it. For the most part, you have to make a before blessing. Right? Even if you washed your hands for bread, you would still have to say mizonos or shahako, let's say on ice cream, or mizonos on cake. Otherwise, that needs a before blessing because it's not really part of the meal. It's not there to satiate, right? It's not part of the meal. But since so grace after meals will fulfill your obligation. For that, you don't have to make a separate after blessing of al michya or brain of fashes. Someone here asks, okay, according to Gemara in Shabbos, 127a, study of Torah is equivalent to them all. Torah study rendered unless we never actually do any mitzvahs. Oh, what's the point of Torah study? Right. Let's analyze that for a second. What is the purpose of Torah study? The purpose of Torah study is to do. We say in the paragraph before the Shema, right? We say Lilmod Lamed Lishmor V'Lasos. Right in the morning, we say Lilmod to learn Torah, the Lamed be able to teach if you're able to. Lishmor V'Lasos, guard yourself. Right, and you should do it. So the whole purpose of Torah is action. The non-purpose of Torah, right? Let's say the non-purpose of Torah is that if a person would learn like another academic subject, but it doesn't like have any relevance to their life. So remember, first learning 101. With Rav Machtrita should be well, and we're going to say for mitzvahs the Rambam. So he always says, brings down from his Rebbe Moshe Schneider, that anyone learns like a frummer student, like an ultra-Orthodox student, i.e. a Jew, right, for the sake of learning, but not putting it into action. Right? They're not putting it into action. They're learning like some other academic subject. Very good. I mean, not so good. Right? So the question is, someone who learns like that, do they get the mitzvah of learning Torah? Do they get the merit of the mitzvah of learning Torah? That was the question. Now, I'll tell you what I did to get an answer. I would never recommend this with any Torah giant that's out there. But I had my tape recorder, of blessed memory. I mean, still have actually a tape recorder somewhere around here. But I had my tape recorder going, and I asked him, someone who learns Torah like an academic subject, do they get the mitzvah of learning Torah or not? Right, because it came out from something that he said that that there was a question, right? That there was a question over here: do they get the merit of learning Torah or not? That was the question. That was my question, and he did not want to answer. Like, he didn't want to answer. He kept hemming and hawing and this and that. Finally, again, I would never recommend this to anybody. I took my hand, I slammed it down on the table. Papers go flying, and some comes running in. Right? So Rebbe tells him, don't worry about it, it's fine. They all look at me, sun goes out. And he looks at me and I said, okay, I want an answer. Right? Never do this. I said, answer the question. Is it Torah? Do they get the mitzvah of Torah or not? Right? Do they get the mitzvah of learning Torah or not? That was my question. I said, answer the question. I asked the question. What's the answer? Right? Right? Never do this. Never do this. Finally, he looked at me and he said, okay, they get something, but he said, that's not the mitzvah of learning Torah. I said, okay. That's all he had to say. I wanted him to say it. I wanted to hear that was the case. Now, people say, come on, the Torah giants of generation that's showing disrespect. Yeah, maybe. Right? But anyway, I got my answer. That was my answer. Now, so the question here on the floor is, if you never actually do any mitzvahs, or you refine any character traits, any midot, or avoid any possibility to do mitzvahs because all we do is study. No. The purpose of study, that can't be. The purpose of study is not to get caught up in just what I learn. right? The purpose of study is to know what to do. The purpose of study is to know how to live. Now, a lot of people learn and they go through, all the intricate details and this and that, but you still have to know practically what to do, right? Now, if you're going to tell me a person learns so intense all the time, right, and they don't put it into action, it's not learning. That's just extrapolation at best. But the whole point is to put in action. Now, someone will say, isn't Judaism a lot about Jewish philosophy? About belief and emunah, yeah. But see, Judaism has no problem obligating people to do things. Keep Shabbos, keep kosher, don't speak Lashon Hara. Many things we're obligated in doing. Many, many, many things. So if a person's learning Torah for an academic exercise, that's what I'm going to call it. Or, as Rav Moshe Schneider would say, as being a frummer student, that is not called learning Torah. It's called learning Torah. That's like learning, mathematics. That's like learning, science. You're not putting it into everyday life. What's the point of learning if you're not going to put it in everyday life? The Gemara says, but even if you learn shalom lishma, not for the sake of heaven, even if you're learning just as an academic subject, couldn't it lead you to keep Torah mitzvahs and learn it properly? Yes. Is that the ultimate thing to do? No. A person can get to that. They can get to that level. Because the Gemara says, even if you do it not that way, you can still get to the right path. But that's not the way to do it. Certainly not the way to do it. Right? If it doesn't affect your life, let's say like this. If a person would learn and they don't do anything, it's all like, okay, this one says like this one says like that. Why do they say it? Let's go back and forth, and you argue details and this and that. Very good. What's the problem? You're still gonna, I'm gonna eat something, right? Do I make a blessing? I'm not gonna make a blessing. I'm in the middle of learning. Can I eat? Yeah. Can I sip my tea? Yeah. I'm not gonna make a blessing. Why wouldn't I make a blessing? Right, because I'm so caught up in learning, I don't make a blessing. I don't thank God for the nice thing that He gave me. Why wouldn't I do that? Right? That would defeat the purpose. So then the question is, part two, should we try and strike a balance? Again, the person's not going to be learning, 100% of the time, and, they're not making blessings, or they're not, they take enough time to pray, right? There's the question of a person, is learning full time where they have to pray, like they're learning every second of every day, right? The long question: do they have to pray or not? Maybe they don't have to pray because, they continue to learn, right? There is such an idea, but the answer is you stop and you pray. You have to do other mitzvahs. So a person can live in the world of what we call lumdus, about understanding what's being said and why it's being said, and all the different opinions and different things. But practically speaking, even with that, I got to keep Torah mitzvahs. I got to make blessings. I got to keep Shabbos. Doesn't supersede that. Never supersedes that. Right? So yeah, my Rebbe would say that if you're learning something, you learn it to the end. You learn it to what the practical law is, what the practical halacha is. Right? Even if you just see what the Code of Jewish Law says, okay. Right? You have to have a balance. Right? You have to have a balance. But some people go to either extreme, where, they just throw out ideas all the time. Very good. Right? Or a lot of people just learn practical halacha, which is derived from the Gemara anyway. It's very rare you see someone who's a genius in both. Right? It's very, very rare. Right? But you need a balance. 100%, you need a balance. The person has to set aside time just to learn halacha, to know what to do. The other stuff, okay, spending hours and intricate details and this and that, okay, there is what to be said for that. There's no question. But practically speaking, you have to know what to do also. So you need the balance, right? You need the balance. Where do you draw the line in terms of ratio? I don't know. What's the number? You want a number. What's the ratio? If you're studying full time, right? Let's say, what does full time mean? Just throw this out there. Person learns full time. Let's say they learn from 9 in the morning to 1, and they learn from, let's say, 3, to 7, 3 to 6:30, or 3:30 to 6:30. Let's say something like that. And some people learn at night also. right? Let's say from, I don't know, 9 to 10:30, 8 to 10 o'clock, whatever it may be. Whatever it may be, at some point, let's say that's called full time, right? According to what we said, right? Even if that's true, some point of a person's day, they have to be learning Jewish law, practical law. Rebbe told a friend of mine this years ago, she'd be learning 2 hours a day Jewish law. 2 hours a day. Now, if you got all kinds of hours to learn, it's okay. So you can set aside, right? If you have less hours to learn, you got to split it up. But practically speaking, you have to know what to do because the laws are there's so much to know, right? The laws of Shabbos, the laws of Kasher, there's a lot to know, right? There's a lot of detail every day, everyday laws, blessings, prayer, many things, right? Many, many things that a person has to know, right? So yeah, you have to find a balance. You have to find some sort of balance. But, if a person has less time, I would say, the most important thing is Jewish law, right? To know what to do. Learn a little bit of Gemara on the side. But the most important thing is Jewish law. Someone came to Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, blessed memory, and asked them what, they only have a limited amount of time to learn. What should they learn? So Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, the founder of the Muslim movement, said she learn Muslim. She learn ethics. Not Gemara, not Halacha, you should learn ethics. Very good. So one of the students asked him, why did you say that? Why not say, lots of Shabbos or Gemara or whatever? So Rabbi Slanter said, if he's learning Musar, he'll see he's really got more time to learn, so he'll be able to learn other things also. And he'll find that he has a lot more time. There's a lot more time. Someone here asks, are we fine to tell people being homosexuality isn't a sin? Acting on the urges. I've heard this before. If you don't act on it. Yeah. The Torah says that the act itself is an abomination. The act itself, right? Having the urge and not acting on it, right? Really probably shouldn't be a sin, right? You're not necessarily condemned for the urge or condemned for the act, right? Right. I would agree. Again, the urge is a not normal urge, just according to, natural biology, right? It's a very strange thing. It's not normal, right? God, the Torah says, you cling to your wife. And then it says in Leviticus Chapter 18, we'll get there, that homosexuality is forbidden, right? So it's not a normal thing. Definitely not a normal thing. But I have definitely heard that, the Torah says you're not allowed to engage in that. True. So if you think about it, you don't engage in it. So yeah, really the abomination is the act, not the person, is the act. I would think thinking about it also is a problem. Not that you get stoned to death for thinking about it, but I would think thinking about it is a problem. But the act itself is called the abomination, right? Act itself is called the abomination. And on that, long question here. Torah eats eating blood doesn't include our own. Yeah. If a lip is bleeding, what do you do? That's a good question. That is a good question. You really should, if it's inside your mouth, you're allowed to swallow it. Right? If it's outside your mouth, you shouldn't swallow it. Right? Because that's like eating blood. But if it's already inside, it's like part of your body already. If it's considered part of your insides already, that's a different issue. That's not considered like you're eating blood. So spots of blood end up on the bread. What do? You throw it out. You definitely throw it out. Or if you cut around it, make sure there's no blood there. Like, let's say I only got on a small spot, cut off half the piece. Yeah, then you could eat the rest. You don't have to throw the whole thing out, right? The question is if it's how much it's seeped in, right? Most people probably grossed out by it and throw the whole thing out, but that's not. I wouldn't say that's like wasting food. That's Baal Tashkas. I wouldn't say that, right? But as long as there's no blood, you can eat it. But yeah, if you ate the blood from that, sure, that would be a total prohibition. If again, the difference is if it's inside your mouth or outside your mouth. If it's inside your mouth, you swallowed it, it's one thing. If it's outside your mouth, different issue, right? That would be a different issue. Last part of this question has nothing to do with either question. Is that the books are disembodied human souls. Well, it's a human soul. It's not nothing to do with the body, right? That cannot get its rightful place in heaven for whatever reason, and therefore it's going to go into another body, right? Then you have to do some sort of exorcism, get it out, because it takes over another body. Can actual spiritual demonic entities that are not human possess people? No, not that I know of. The only thing we know, at least according to Kabbalah, that can overtake another soul in the body is what we call a dibuk. But no other. There's no body possession per se, right? The only possession we have, so to speak, is this idea that a soul that's running from destructive angels, and the only place it can find to go into is a body, to go, in order to save itself, right? So it goes in the body, but obviously got two souls in one body, so that soul has to get extracted somehow, and whatever. I can't tell you how it's done. It's you need Kabbalists for this, but there is, as far as I understand, there's no spiritual demonic entities that are not human, right? It's only a soul going into another body. Someone asks. Animals. Yeah, the whole thing about animals. Why don't animals have to suffer diseases and death when Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge? Why does anyone have to die? Right? Ask a different question. Why does everyone have to die? Why, was death a Jewish concept ever? No. God went to plan B. Very good. God had to go to plan B. Right? Because man ate from the tree. Okay, there are repercussions. So, everybody has to die. Etc. Animals, they also, again, why ask, I'll ask like this. In the time of the flood, animals are programmed DNA. If animals are programmed DNA, why do animals get wiped out? Maybe only the humans should have got wiped out. So the Beis Halevi on the Torah, Rav Chaim Soloveitchik's father, known as Beis Halevi, says that man had such power on the world, power of influence, that there were animals that were mating outside their species. Now you say that can't happen. That's an impossibility, right? Animals can only mate with their own animals, right? With their own kind. We don't have it the other way, right? They don't have ducks going up to dogs and whatever, however you want to, other animals going up to other animals outside their species. So the Beis Halevi says over there by Parshas Noach, that's exactly what happened. That animals were imitating what man did when they went outside their species. Now, even today, we'd say man doesn't have that power, but there was something. I read an article years ago, many, many years ago, about two pelicans. I think it was two male pelicans that tried to mate, which is like unheard of. That's why I made the news, right? It was unheard of. Right. So very, probably very, very uncommon. Now, why would it be? Why would that be? Where'd they learn it from? Where would these pelicans live? Any guess? San Francisco. Right? So they're imitating what other people did. They saw what other people were doing, they imitated. Now, what about what we just said? The fact that animals program DNA, very good. Yeah. And that man doesn't have that same influence. If this is a true story, let's say it is, for argument's sake. You see, man still has that kind of power to influence animals, even if animals are programmed DNA. So, yeah, animals can suffer from man's mistakes, not their fault. You're right. Even if it's not their fault, there are repercussions. There are repercussions. Yeah, ask differently, why animals used for sacrifices? What did birds, cows, other animals, sheep, goats, what do they do? What does this goat deserve to do to be thrown off a cliff? Because God said this is what you do. God says take these animals, cut out the insides, throw them away, put them on the altar, put the blood on the altar, do all these things. What do animals do to deserve that? Nothing. Animals are used for our, for what we want to use them for. But God says, I want you to sanctify my altar, my sanctuary with the blood of these animals. And, and the fats of these animals, or some are forbidden, some are not, right, etc. So you got to get to the heart of what sacrifice is all about. But the point is, God used animals for that. So why not ask that question? And what's the answer? Because God said, use these animals. Animals can be used, to be sanctified. Animals are not allowed to be abused. But animals can be punished for what their master does. They could be punished. You got to say, but it's not that, if a person embarks on bestiality, right? Torah says, we're going to see later in chapter 18 in the Book of Leviticus, bestiality is forbidden. For Jews, non-Jews, forbidden. Yeah, so you kill the animal also. Why do you kill the animal? Animal's programmed. Animal didn't ask for this, right? Guarantee the animal didn't ask for it, right? As far as I know. Unless the animal's trying to seduce the human, hard to imagine. But let's say, right, animal doesn't deserve to die. What's the problem? What's the problem? If you don't kill the animal, again, the same principle. The animal's running around alive saying, oh, look, this is Reuven's ox that he, did the jitterbug with, and Reuven got killed. Reuven got stoned. How can you leave the animal alive? It's embarrassment to Reuven, even if Reuven died. You're leaving him alive. So the animal can get punished through the person doing it, right? That's the mentality. That's the reason. Can a Noahide pray for a personal miracle? Why not? Why shouldn't they be allowed to? They can pray, but again, open miracles don't make you religious. Just remember that. Watch my video on Parshas Balak, where I think the title is having prophecy doesn't make you righteous. Right? Give a plug to my YouTube channel, Beyond Orthodox Conversion in Judaism. Right? Doesn't make you righteous. You see, Bilam, God spoke to him. He knew he was having prophecy. And still, he wanted to do what he wanted to do. So you see, even prophecy doesn't make you righteous if you're corrupt. Right? So yeah, you can pray for an open miracle. Yeah, you can pray for it. Right? The question is, you going to see it or not? Is it going to change you? Is it going to change you? But that's the whole point. That's exactly what the Brisker Rav said. Even an open miracle, if you're not a vessel to accept it, to see what it is, then it doesn't do anything. Right? It won't do anything. Let me see, I'm running out of time here. See if I get to these last questions. Eating salad, soup, stews, or anything similar. Okay, back to blessings. Or selection on Shabbos when you're not taking everything a meal altogether. It depends. If you're eating a stew, let's say everything's cut up very finely. You take one thing out because let's say you got now we're after Passover, so you got beans, barley, meat, and potatoes. But you don't want the beans. So you take out the beans. That's boring. That's selection. Right? You're taking what I want from what I don't want. If I take what I want from what I don't want and what I want, that's okay. In other words, if I like potatoes and I take out part of the potato with it, that's okay. Right? That would be okay. But if I'm taking something else, even though it's good, it's not bad, but I think it's bad, I don't want it, that's selection. That's forbidden. That would be forbidden. If you take it out. If you take it out like that, that would be forbidden. Let me see. Just say never again. Yeah, I don't kind of like that statement because people will say, "Well, we won't be like our grandparents, great grandparents," and they went to the slaughter like sheep. They had no idea what was going on till it was too late. Not only that, they're being starved to death. Heard someone say that, and it's like a crazy thing. They're being starved to death and everything else. How can they fight back? They fought back in the end, right? Some people. So many people were taken and abused and starved to death. They're like, how could they fight back, right? So yeah, never again, and we're gonna fight back. Okay, I've heard people say it, but you got to get the message. Got to get the message. What's really going on? What's really behind? What's going on? Yeah, let me see. I read some chocolate covered matzahs. They require hamotzi. Yes, absolutely. Eaten. You should wash. If you're Ashkenazic, you should wash because if you eat it like bread. If you're Sephardic, they eat it like a cracker. You could probably say mazonos. If you're Sephardic, if you're Ashkenazic, you'd say hamotzi on it. Someone asks, what's the ideal amount of time to study? The person works 20 hours a week, whatever time however much time you have. Even if you're busy with other things. You want to study an hour a week, or study 2 hours a week. Whatever a person can do. Obviously a man's got more of an obligation. When they're not working, they should be learning. Unless they have family obligations or whatever. But you have to have fixed. For men, you have to have fixed times. Women should also learn. How much? However much they can. They also have to live inspired. They also have to know what to do. Right? Is there a fixed amount? It's not a fixed amount. Right? Should a woman spend all her time studying? I don't think so. She should do other things also, but then we can spend, as much time, as she wants. 1 second. Somebody asks, I deal with emotional, physical tiredness. Okay. Yeah, a lot of questions I'm not going to get to. What's the blessing on the Torah? That is, depends which blessing you're talking about. If you're talking about when you wake up in the morning, blessing is lasok b'divrei Torah. Let's write it out here. 1 second. Blessed Baruch Atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kisham himself v'tzivanu, la'asok b'divrei Torah. That's the last 3 words that I should engage in Torah. That is the blessing. A lot of good questions here. I have to save them. I got to stop here. I do this every Sunday, 4:00 Israel time, 9:00. 9:00 Eastern time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, or orthodoxconversion.com, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism on YouTube. There I got videos on the Torah portion of the week, which I'm very behind. Q&As, Ethics for Our Fathers, which hopefully going to get back to next week. Hopefully next Saturday night. That's the goal. Otherwise, you want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com. Wish everyone a good beginning of the day, middle of the day, and